Yo, what's up everyone? Paul from Grindhouse Funhouse, and in this video I wanted to do a new vinyl soundtrack collection update. The last one I did was a two-parter back in August 2018, and those were all the vinyl soundtracks I'd collected up to that point. And if you haven't seen those videos, I've linked them up at the end of this one. So from now on, I'm thinking every January, I'm gonna do an overview like this, just to show everything I've gotten since the last overview of the last year. I'm still gonna show my vinyls I buy every month in my collection update videos, but basically I'm doing this so that for me and you and all the vinyl soundtrack collection nuts out there, just to see the breadth of everything I've gotten in the last year. As you may know, if you watch my collection update videos, I'm a big fan of 80s various artiste soundtracks. And those soundtracks either had songs that were popular at the time around the movie's release, or songs that were specifically written for the movie. We don't see those kind of releases anymore. It's a relic of another time. I'm trying to have the biggest collection around of these releases. And I'd say I'm definitely on my way. And don't get me wrong, there's a lot of cheese in there. A lot of those soundtracks are not very grindhouse, funhousey, but I really dig that shit, being a lover of everything 80s. I do have horror and blaxploitation soundtrack in my collection, and lots of film scores too, which I started to collect when I was a kid. And back then it started on cassettes and then on CDs. I'm always going to try to get the original pressings. I'm a fan of like reissues or first time, or especially if they only come out the first time, like say from a Waxwork or Mondo, and it's the only way to get that soundtrack. But usually I always try to get, that first pressing, because it's a relic of that time. If I hold a soundtrack from 1987, well, it's something that I hold in my hand that is 33 years old, which is kind of cool. And for sure, I'm trying to get the entire discographies of all my favorite composers from that time. People like John Williams, Alan Silvestri, Danny Elfman, Jerry Goldsmith, a band like Tangerine Dream, where I'm trying to get all those really cool synth scores from the early 80s. So for these videos, which I'll break into three parts, first two parts will be all the vinyls, all the soundtracks I've gotten since those first videos back in August 2018. And the third video will be all the vinyls I've gotten since October. All the stuff I've got from record stores I visited here in Montreal, or Black Friday, Christmas, gifts I've gotten, and Boxing Day. I've excluded all the blaxploitation soundtracks I got since I did a video very recently that right after you watch this one, I would suggest you go check out if you're a fan of those kind of soundtracks. So, all right, let's get started, shall we? The first one I'll show you is Fright Night. And it's one of the few horror soundtracks I've got. Sadly, I wish I could get more. They're a bit more expensive and harder to find around here. The score was done by Brad Fiedel, and if you don't know Brad Fiedel, he's most famous for his score for Terminator and Terminator 2. This is a various artiste soundtrack, so there's no. I think there's a one cue from the movie here. So yeah, right here, Fright Night. Up next, we got the Blues Brothers, John Landis movie, Dan Aykroyd, John Belushi. And yeah, the soundtrack I think was as popular as the movie when it came out. So decided to get it. Why not? I love some blues. Up next, I got Perfect, which is John Travolta, Jamie Lee Curtis movie. Again, another one of those 80s various artiste soundtrack. And on this one, you got Jermaine Jackson, Pointer Sister, Thompson Twins, Wham. It's all very 80s right here. Perfect. Next soundtrack I will show you is The Warriors, which is one of my prized possessions, especially the first pressing of it. I just love this soundtrack. It has like a synthy sound to it, and it's one of my favorite movies of all time. So that's why I display it right here on my wall. Up next, I have Fast Forward, which is a movie directed by Sidney Poitier. It's another one of those various artistes soundtrack. Right here. Coupe de Ville, directed by Joe Roth. And Joe Roth, back in 1990, was the head of 20th Century Fox. And he directed movies as well. So we got Daniel Stern in this one, right in his time when he was doing the voiceover for The Wonder Years. And of course, he was in Home Alone. It's basically all like 50 songs on this one. Up next, another prized possession. Cobra, Stallone. George Pecos Matos, who directed it, and it is a canon film, of course. I believe some of those songs were written by Sly and his brother. I feel like there's a song from his brother. There's a Sylvester Levay. I don't know if it's him or like his pen name or whatever, but got Stallone and Cobra right here. Cat People, Jojo Moroder, film with Natasha Kinski and Malcolm McDowell. Paul Schrader, who directed this. It's a little bit beat up, but it's great music. There's I think the title, the theme for the movie was written by David Bowie, which is titled "Cat People Putting Out Fire," putting out fire. That's what it is. Haha. Up next, another David Bowie appearance, and this one he acts in it. It's The Hunger, and it is a Varèse Sarabande title. And I am a huge fan of Varèse Sarabande. If I could collect them all, I would. Some of those are crazy expensive. This one I got for a really good price. And this is a great vampire movie directed by Tony Scott. Yeah, I'm really glad I got this one. Up next, this was my favorite soundtrack of 2018, and this is Suspiria, scored by Tom York. Right here, I just amazing. It's very. Every time you listen to this, it brings dread in you. It's really good, and I like the artwork for this thing. It's really beautiful, and we have like pink colored vinyls in this one. I could show them to you right now. As you can see here, it's a gatefold which opens like this. Very beautiful, and one of the vinyls here. With the sleeve, and then I don't know if it's the pink one or a blue one. I know there's two colors. Oh, it's the pink one right here. Voila, very beautiful. So if you want to eat it. And then I also got, which was a limited release, an EP of all the tracks that he kind of like junked, I guess, or just didn't want to put on this soundtrack. It's not the best. It's okay. I got it mostly for collecting purposes. Like only like 1,500 were printed, and that's it. It's a nice conversation piece, I guess. But there's not really a good track on this. I listened to it once, and that was about it. Versus Suspiria, where I listened quite a bit of it. So, all right. Up next, Burt Reynolds and Sharky's Machine. Another various artiste soundtrack of artists that people probably don't even remember anymore, but I'm sure they were the shit back in the day. Up next, The Big Chill. How can you not have a vinyl soundtrack collection with The Big Chill in it? I mean, I see these in every bin I go through, at least every 2 times, I'd say. I see those, and there was 2 vinyls release. There's this one as well, The Big Chill. Right here. Up next, the sequel to Saturday Night Fever, Staying Alive, and directed by Sylvester Stallone, of all people. The Bee Gees came back for this. I have actually seen this movie, but you know, I bought the soundtrack. Why not? Staying Alive. Up next, Enemy Mines, sci-fi movie from Wolfgang Peterson. And it stars Dennis Quaid and Lou Gossett Jr. right here. And music composed by Maurice Jarre. There you go. Enemy Mine. Up next, The Wildlife. Another, like a teen comedy from the 80s, starring Sean Penn's brother, Christopher Penn, may he rest in peace, and Leah Thompson. Jenny Wright's in this, Eric Stoltz, Rick Moranis, Randy Quaid. Yeah, a lot of big people on here. The Wildlife. Legal Eagles, directed by Ivan Reitman. Who doesn't know Ivan Reitman? You know, Ghostbusters. And yeah, decided to get this one. Why not? Legal Eagles. The Karate Kid Part 2. I don't even have Part 1. I only have Part 2. Under various artists soundtrack. Big song on this one is Glory of Love by Peter Cetera. It's a big 80s hit right here. Up next, I got Teachers. The various artists soundtrack with people like Freddie Mercury and ZZ Top and Joe Cocker. It's directed by Arthur Hiller, and Jim Belushi's in this. There you go. She's Having a Baby, a John Hughes movie. And that's what I want to try to get all the John Hughes soundtracks, because he's very well known for his taste in music and all the cool soundtracks. Just think Ferris Bueller's Days Off right there. That's like an amazing soundtrack that's never been released officially on vinyl. So yeah. Ooh, that's one of my favorites from the 80s, various artist soundtracks. Secret of My Success, Michael J. Fox. Just the theme of the movie, The Secret of My Success by Night Ranger. Just for that alone, it's really good, and I'm a big fan of, you know, Michael J. Fox, right in his heyday as his most popular. Right here, we got Quicksilver, starring Kevin Bacon. I think it's one of his less well-known movies from the 80s. He's got Jamie Gertz in there, and he plays like a bike messenger. Ray Parker's on this. Oh, really? Interesting. Roger Daltrey. So yeah, Quicksilver. Right here we got I don't know if it's a reissue or first-time issue of The Little Shop of Horror. Frank Oz, one of my favorite directors. He did one of my all-time favorite movies, What About Bob? But of course, you know, all the Star Wars shit and the Muppets and all that stuff. Yeah, Bill Murray's in this too. So yeah, Little Shop of Horrors. Up next, Eddie and the Cruisers, and yeah, Tom Berenger, Michael Paré, probably his only big movie, I guess, that he did. Then he after that, probably his career ended up in the direct-to-video bin. But for one shining moment, Michael Paré was someone, and he was Eddie and the Cruisers. Another classic 80s soundtrack, Saint Elmo's Fire, directed by Joel Schumacher, Emilio Estevez, Rob Lowe, you know, the Brad Pack, Andrew McCarthy, Demi Moore, Judd Nelson, Ali Sheedy, all these people right here. So yeah, Saint Elmo's Fire. Ooh, another prized possession, Gremlins. And this one is kind of weird. It's kind of like a first side is songs, second side is Jerry Goldsmith doing his thing. And I don't know if there's a release for the entire score. I know there's this from 1984, 85, and 84. And I know that Gremlins 2, Varese Sarabande released the full soundtrack on vinyl, but Gremlins I would very much like to have as well. Another horror soundtrack, Psycho 3. And this is Carter Burwell that did the score, directed by Anthony Perkins. He did this one right here. So it's a pretty good score. Other classic 80s, various artists soundtrack, Back to School. The title track, it's pretty good. We got Dead Man's Party, Ongo Bongo, Danny Elfman. So Rodney Dangerfield that gets no respect at all. except for this movie, probably. Up next, The Natural, Randy Newman. That's also one of my favorite scores from him. Robert Redford in this, Barry Levinson directed. I discovered this score thanks to The Wonder Years, the final episode. They use the prologue from side one on this one, and it got me hooked, and I really love this score. Up next, another Varese Sarabande release, The Year of Living Dangerously, Mel Gibson, Sigourney Weaver, Peter Weir movie, right here. We got here Wild in the Street, which is like a psychedelic soundtrack from 1968. Richard Pryor's in this, Hal Holbrook. I believe this one right here. So this is an original pressing. This thing is 52 years old. It's crazy. It's just crazy to think about that it survived that long, and it plays really well. I actually played it recently. So yeah. Soul Man and the Various Artistes soundtrack, a movie that today would not fly at all. At all. It's a white man disguising himself as a black man to go to school. The shit you could do in the 80s, you cannot do today. But this is another Various Artistes soundtrack, like I said, and it's a pretty good one. It's directed by Steve Miner, who, funny enough, worked on The Wonder Years. So it was like a couple years after. Mahogany, Diana Ross. It's all Diana all the time on this one. I haven't had a chance to listen to it, but I can pass this one up. Footloose, other classic 80s Various Artistes. Kevin, back at it again. I mean, who doesn't know Footloose by Kenny Loggins? Come on now. Even if you're not a fan of the 80s, you've heard that song millions of times on the radio. Phantom of the Paradise, right here. And I want to say, I got to meet Paul Williams this summer. Well, I got to see Paul Williams in action at Fantasia Film Festival. We got to see the movie, and there was a Q&A after. There's a documentary about the fans of this movie that you should check out. It's interesting, but yeah, right here, Phantom of the Paradise. Walter Carlos, A Clockwork Orange. This is the complete original score for Stanley Kubrick's award-winning film A Clockwork Orange. I guess there was a demand for the entire thing, so they got to do a release of it, and it's right here. Cry Freedom, George Fenton doing the music, a Denzel Washington movie, which I haven't seen, but I'm sure it's quite good. It's Denzel, so there you go. Cry Freedom. Cruising, which was another controversial movie from the early 80s about gay bars and murder. And you can tell I know the gist of what it is. I haven't seen it yet. I really want to. Al Pacino starring in this, a William Friedkin film. Looks very good. Can't wait to check it out. Madonna, Who's That Girl? At her peak in the 80s, did a couple movies, and this is one of them right here. Against All Odds, Jeff Bridges and Rachel Ward, another Various Artistes soundtrack right here. The Arrangement, Kirk Douglas. This came out in 1969. Elia Kazan. Never seen it, but I like those old-timey scores like this one. And it's Kirk Douglas, who's now 102 now. The man just won't die. Keeps on living, man. I wish I could be that strong and live to that old age. Up next, we have The Wild Angels, Volume 2. Another Far Out album. This came out, I think, 68 or 69. It's all instrumentals, and it's a biker movie, from Roger Corman back in the day. So yeah, right here, Wild Angels, Amadeus, which won the best movie back in 1985, 86, I believe. And those are all kicking Beethoven tracks you can hear on this one right here. And then finally, for part one of this series of 3 videos, we got The Big Easy, starring Dennis Quaid, a movie set, of course, in New Orleans, because you got, artists like Buckwheat Zydeco and Zachary Richard, who's from right here, and Aaron Neville and Neville Brothers. So I can't say I've listened to this one yet, but nice to have in a collection right here. So that's it for part one of the vinyl soundtrack collection overview. Please like, share, subscribe. Check out my Instagram feed at Grindhouse Funhouse, where I post on the daily. In the comment section, let me know what are your favorite vinyl soundtracks if you do collect. I'm always interested, and if you ever did a video on your entire collection, I would love to see that as well. Come back for part 2 in a few days, and there will be more soundtrack goodness for you to enjoy. And thanks for watching, and ciao bye for now.